Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well. If you could just open up the chat function and let me know you're here and you can hear me, just put I can hear you, I can see you. Just let me know we can get this going. All right, loud and clear. Good stuff. All coming through. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's fantastic. Good stuff. Nice. Good. Lots of great voices. Love it, love it, love it. So as we kick off today, if you got onto the call early enough, you would have heard some of the songs that I was sharing. So I'm going to launch a poll here for you to respond to of which song title best represents your reality of e-learning. So maybe you might not know the song, but you know the title. And I'd love for you to respond to that as we jump into this conversation today. Yep, lots of living on a prayer coming up here. A couple of killing me softly. Even a couple of people, I could get used to it. A couple in the chat, 1 and 3. Yeah, it even could be a mashup, right? It could be a mashup of the two songs. I like that. Bit of a DJ. Sandra has got a DJ mix going on. Nice. Beautiful. I'll open up for another 15 seconds if you want to respond. Love for you to get in there. Even one person, they said, I'm the man, which is good. Love it. Who runs the world? A couple there too. Good stuff. All right, I'm going to close that up now. All right, I'll show it with you. So yeah, it looks like there we have 41% of the vote with Living on a Prayer. Yeah, look there, we got maybe a second place of Help and I Could Get Used to It. That's encouraging. You know, one single person there on The Man, and Killing Me Softly, 13% there too. Well, that's good. Well, I like that. So if you wanted to know what I did there with the music is I'm using Zoom at the moment. I know that this particular webinar is not about Zoom, but you can share a button or when you share the screen and it just says share your sound. And you can do that on Teams and on Google Hangouts too. But it's just a really neat function of how to do that. There. Well, Gul, thanks for letting me know how you're feeling today. So we're going to kick this off. And as I said, today's conversation is about how to connect with your students and parents. Believe it or not, we got to connect with those parents too in the virtual world. And today, as of yesterday, I did a similar webinar, but I just focused on Zoom. This conversation is going to be more about video conferencing in general from a high level. So I'm not really going to get into some like technical things because it's just so many. There's Teams and Skype, Google Hangouts, GoToMeetings. There was just too many, but I'm going to give you some really good best practices that I've researched over the last month and a half to hopefully give you a really good level of how to really connect with your students, because I know that's what you want to do as a teacher. So just some kind of ground rules of our webinar. Feel free to interact through the chat when I ask you to. Even you can put some questions, start piling up some questions, and I'll stop throughout the webinar and I'll answer some of the questions as we move through there. If at any point you cannot hear me or see me, then you'll be able just to tell me through the chat. Before I get going, I have discovered for teachers the PGP certificate is very important. Yesterday, the group crucified me because they were like, are we gonna get PGP points? Yes. Yeah, Robin from IDEO has a certificate ready for you. So you will receive a 1 hour, whatever that equals, maybe 1 point, if that's what it is. So if you are worried about it, we will have the PGP or PCP points, whatever that might be. We're going to have them there for you. So there we go. Just going to quickly check in my chat here. I see your screen, but am I supposed to see you anywhere? Yes, you should see me because we are doing this through Zoom. So you should be able to see me, okay? So yeah, so the PGP point, you've got them, they're coming to you. Robin will take care of that. I've even got a wonderful certificate for you with beautiful colors and hopefully you'll remain on the call, because yesterday when I didn't know, people dropped off the call. So hope you stick with me. I didn't realize how important that was. And my wife has been a teacher for many years. She said, Mike, how can you not know? That's how important that is. So I hope you all forgive me from yesterday and people aren't too mad at me. There we go. All right, let's get going. So again, just introduce myself. My name is Mike Elliott. If you're trying to work out what this confusing accent is, I was born in Canada, grew up in Australia, now live in the Midwest. And a lot of people always ask me, like, you could live in Australia, you could live in Canada. Why would you live in the flattest land in all the land? One reason and one reason only: for a girl. I moved here for my wife. Her name's Kirsten. And we decided to live here. And now I have 2 children. I call them my American children, age 5 and 7. And Leo is in the IPS school district going to CFI 70. And we've really enjoyed our time there. So my name is Mike Elliott, and I am a leadership and organizational development consultant here in Indiana. And what I do is I help people communicate. I help people get better at their work. And as you can see there, our noble why is developing one leader at a time. And the way we do that is we just invest in people and help them to communicate in the best way possible through self-awareness. Self-management is one of our big things. So today, I want to help you get better at connecting with your students with some of the things I've learned along the way. Another quick question as I pause for a second was, will you be posting or emailing us the recording? Yes, we will. We're actually working on getting it on the website of the state website. So we're working on that hopefully by tomorrow for you. Sound good? All right. So let's start off just by anchoring ourselves in what's happening. So what I've heard from teachers, I've been talking to teachers for the last month and a half, and a lot of teachers have shared to me that this huge change of going into an e-learning world has felt like they have this virtual reality headset on, where your students, you don't even know, are my students there? How do I connect with them? You felt like this kind of weird sense of I just don't even know what's real and what's not real. And what's happened is you've been thrown into teaching in a different classroom. So you've gone from the in-person classroom to now being in this virtual classroom. So the room dynamics have changed. And so what I want to do today is help you just think through some of the really important parts that we need to consider when we enter into a virtual room. Because now in that virtual room, there's not just your students, but also the parents are there as well. Well, hopefully the parents are there helping you. I know in my household, we've had to learn a whole bunch of new things like number bonds, math. What is a number bond? I've only been out of school. I'm 38 years old, and they have this new math. And we were like, what in the world is a number bond? It was so confusing to us. So you now have to teach through me as the parent. I become your hands and your feet and your mouthpiece. So this virtual reaction is really important. So we're going to talk about some of the best practices to help you connect. And if you can help me understand number bonds, I'll be super appreciative as well. So I'm going to play a video here that may help sum up best what it's felt like to enter into this new virtual environment.
Hey, so as some of you guys might know, I'm a music teacher, and I found that one of the best ways that I can process the whole transition to online learning and teaching is to write a song. So I wrote a song. I'd like to share that with you guys now. Here we go.
So I don't know about you, but is that anyone resonate with you in the chat? Anyone resonate with that's what it feels like moving into the e-learning world, like just this scream? I know what it's felt like for me. I've had some moments where we've been screaming, me and my wife, where we're like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? So again, I hope today will help you feel a little bit more comfortable with that. But I'm going to anchor us today as we launch into this in a story. And I want to just quickly share a story with you about the importance of connection. So in 1988-89, I was in grade 2, and my teacher was Miss Doney. And Miss Doney was a teacher that I remember for my entire life because she learned how to connect with me. I was a student who just didn't really understand. I was slow to reading. I didn't even know there was a vowel in every word until grade 6. I was not your optimum teacher. You wouldn't want me in your classroom. I would have brought the scores down. But Miss Doney had a way that she connected with me. And the way she did that is she played Connect 4 with me. And Miss Doney every Friday would play Connect 4 with me. And if I beat her, she would buy me a Bernstein Bear book. Okay. And I think she was very sneaky because she knew I loved to compete. She knew I loved sports. So the way she did that is she tied playing a game to me developing my reading. So I really wanted to learn how to read because it meant I got to play. So for me, that was what connection was about. So fast forward to 2019, 2020, Miss Kelly and my son enter into grade 1. And Miss Kelly at CFI 70 has been a dream teacher for us. She just knows how to connect with Leo. My son is a very timid learner. He's a very good student, but very timid. And Miss Kelly has created this really safe environment in the classroom. So on March 13th, when we discovered that we were going to now have to work from home, we grieved. We were sad because Leo had this great environment of learning, and Miss Kelly was so awesome. And in a moment, we were then told that, hey, actually, not only are we going to stay home for 2 weeks, now we're going to stay home till the end of the school year. So Leo was going to miss out on that incredible interaction. So the reason I share this is because that's what this is about. Virtual connection can imply sometimes that it's not real. It's very real. It's just different. And we have to find ways to connect with our students in whatever way possible. So today we're talking about video conferencing. And I hope that maybe this story will inspire you that there's students who miss you, who care about you. I'm sure there's some students who won't, but that doesn't matter. This is about you finding a way to connect with the world around you. And I just wanted to share a quick story with you. Another quick foundational thought. When I was getting married about 8 years ago, a marriage counselor said this: spend more time planning your marriage than your wedding. And I think this really speaks well to video conferencing, because sometimes it can become so overwhelming. Like, how do I learn this tool? And what's this new app? And what's this video tool? And how do I press this keyboard? And where's the mute button? It can feel overwhelming, but I want to again just anchor you in this. Spend more time planning how to connect with your students and parents than working on how to use technology. Because when you want to connect, you will find a way to use technology. So again, if you ever have a moment where it just feels overwhelming, I'd encourage you to think, okay, I want to connect with my student and parents the best way possible. So therefore, I'm going to use technology, as opposed to, I have to use technology in order to connect with my students. Now, again, that's literally true. But I want you to anchor in the thought of what you're also good at is finding a way to teach. And finding a way to teach is a way to connect. So I wonder for you, does that resonate with you or help you ground you in maybe thinking about virtual technology in a different way? If it does, just give me a yes or maybe a question of ways that you found to ground yourself during this time. Maybe there's a thought that you've used to help ground you to how you connect with students, because I know for many of you, it's felt like you're grieving through this process. So today I want to help you to think about it in a new way. All right, one more video here as we get going. I don't know about you, but it's felt like this for video conferencing for me.
Where's the sound?
Dave,
I can't.
your microphone, it's not
Click
on.
on the button with the picture of the microphone.
Every time a villain calls in, this happens.
Hello? Hello?
Well, now we can
So
hear you,
annoying.
but we cannot see you.
Every time.
That's like talking to my parents.
I don't know about you, but that's what I felt like every time I've got on a video conference call. Someone's like, you're on mute, Dave. I can't see you, Christine. Oh, geez, like you get all flustered and overwhelmed. Pam Saylor says, that's me. It can feel like that. But as teachers, we have to find a way, and administrators, we have to find a way to make sure we make this experience the best way possible, because we're going to do it for the rest of the school year. And again, fingers crossed, we're back in August. But even on snow days, this could become the new normal of how we interact and teach. So we need to find a different way. I'm just reading a few of the chats here. We spend more time fussing with things about Zoom than discussing. Better now than at the beginning. Yeah, so true. Like, I think you're saying that in a good way. But yeah, let's find a way to connect as opposed to just trying to think about technology too deeply. All right. So I'm going to bring you into some best practices that I've learned along the way. So here's something that advisor that we really think is really important is that when you start off a virtual call, connection before content is very important. Again, this is really important in the classroom, but even more important in the virtual room, because in the virtual room, people are walking in with more insecurities than they are in person. They're worried about, can you hear me? Can you see me? I don't even know when to speak up. The psychology becomes enhanced. So connection and giving people a voice before you get into teaching is really important. So the way that happens is just spending time. You might call it an icebreaker. You might call it a check-in, whatever that might be. I think can be really important, because I know a lot of teachers in the classroom, you'll have a way of starting off the day. So when it comes to virtual calls, don't just get to business, find a way to connect before you get to that content. So here's just a quick example of how I do this a lot. So in the chat, I would love for you to pick 2 words from this list. Find 2 words that represent you in this change to e-learning, and just write that in the chat. Write 2 words that represent what it looks like for you in this e-learning way. I'll give you 20 seconds to write that in there. Great. Empowered, ambitious, determined, crazy, wild. Nice. Ambitious, nice. Frustrated, perplexed. Yeah, that's a good word. Depressed, yep. Tenacious, like that one. Amused, enthusiastic, sure, glad, lovely. Yeah, lots of good words as we do that. And the reason why I like this connection point is it's a good way to find out what people are thinking. It also gives people a voice. So especially when it comes to virtual calls, it can feel like skipping. Do you remember when you were younger and they do like the 1 rope of skipping and you didn't know when to jump in? Because when you're in person, it can feel like, I'm not really, you kind of read the body language, but in a virtual way, you're not really too sure. So it's a really helpful way just to connect doing that. So that's connection before content. So as we finish out this first part of it, I'd love for you to consider what are some ideas or ways that you think you could use virtual when you're on a video call, or ways that you can connect before you get to the content. So I'd love for you to write down some things in the chat of some ways that you've discovered how to connect before you get to content. So I'd love to see some of your ideas there, so the rest of the group might pick up on some as we walk through this session. So feel free to write those in. So singing a song, a game, love that. Ask what is your favorite, wave a thumbs up, yeah, nice one. Polls, asking questions, tell me what you're doing, yeah, lovely. I learned yesterday and used today. A scavenger hunt, that's cool. Personal phone calls, love that. I'll show you baby photos. 30-second dance party, I like that. Riddles, yeah, how are you? Yeah, have your snack ready. What is your favorite snack? Oh, that's good. Mail letters, oh, going back to the snail mail, lovely. Yeah, lots of good ideas here. So have a look there as we keep moving through, because again, that's the great part about these sessions is we get to learn from each other. Oh, good news, bad news, like that. Yeah. Oh, show your pets. That's a fun one. Yeah, lots of cool ideas. So the next part I want to talk about is parents. So it could be an unusual thing to talk about through a session like this, but I think we have to talk about that we now have another person in the room. So usually the in-person room, parents only came in when they volunteered, but now they are right there. They're your hands and feet and your mouthpiece. And as I joked about, we had to learn how to do number bonds, and it was a big deal. So we had to find a way to connect with our parents. So a couple of things I'd like for you to maybe to consider is what kind of ideas can we have to communicate with our parents? Because what I've found with the parents that I've talked to over the last month and a half is 1, they want to help. 2, parents can be their own worst enemy. And sometimes the worst enemy is they feel insecure because they feel like they're not doing a good enough job. And sometimes that outworks itself by them being a pain in the butt to you. And sometimes it outworks itself by being angry. So a way that I've considered that I've been helping some teachers is having ways that you can open dialogue. So I wonder, again, in the chat, what have been some ways that you found it helpful to connect with parents throughout this season of time? Yeah, parents are overwhelmed, especially with special needs students. Man, couldn't imagine the change there. Bloom's app, email, texting, yeah, have open dialogue. Nice. Phone calls, texts, yeah, lots of great stuff there. And then on the other side is that now your parents have become your teachers. So they're actually helping to outwork the content, especially with IPS. They've mailed home these packets, like these big, thick packets, and then we have to walk it through. What have been some ways that you found it helpful to help your parents become teachers? Anyone had any good ideas there of how to help your parents become teachers? Because I know with Miss Kelly, she's been sending videos to parents saying, hey, here's how you can teach this. She's had some open office hours to help walk through that and connect with students in the best possible way. Yeah, screenshots, detailed explanation of assignments. Yeah. So if you don't have your chat open, I really encourage you to open that up, because there's a lot of gold coming through here for you how to do this. So I just quickly wanted to just check in on parents in this process, because video conferencing, we have to think of our audience to the lens of parents as well as the students. So write down some ideas of how you could do that, especially in light of that particular part. Okay, so what I want to talk to here is about the research that I found of the two enemies of virtual meetings. So the two enemies are distraction and disconnection. So with all the research that I've done, it's all boiled down to these two distinct things. When we go into a virtual meeting, people are distracted and they feel disconnected. So our job as teachers and administrators and principals is to overcome these two enemies. So when it comes to distraction, we have this screen around us that can distract us. We have emails, internet, chats, videos. We have things happening outside, especially on this lovely day here in Indianapolis. We have animals, we have kids, we're parents, we're teachers. We got this whole thing, and it can feel really distracting. And then the other one, which is probably the most powerful enemy, is disconnection. It's through this screen here, we feel like we can't connect because we're not in person. You know, we haven't hugged anyone in our family outside of our house in over 5 or 6 weeks. It feels strange. So we have to overcome that. So I'm curious for you, first of all, I'd love to see in the chat, what have been some of the things that have been the biggest distractions for you in this season? What have been the most difficult things, the biggest distractions for you when it comes to virtual meetings? So email, 3 kids at home. Yeah, kids, family, dog, kid. Yeah, tech issues. That's a good one. Yep. Yeah, kiddos. Yeah. And then as you're writing that out, what's been the most difficult? What have been the things that have helped make, sorry, let me say it again. What have been the things that have made you feel most disconnected through this season? What have been some of those things that made you feel most disconnected through this season? Yeah, not having other ideas to bounce off, not actually seeing the children. Yeah, because I bet you there's some kids don't even have access to internet. So how do you see them? No human connection, lack of adult interaction. Yeah, I would love just to go to a Mexican restaurant and just eat corn chips and eat it until I just feel full. Being hung up on, yeah, just those sort of, just the technical things are a big issue. So just as a point of reference, when I'm planning a video call, I'm always thinking about these two things. I actually write it in my plan for any workshop or conversation. I write distraction and disconnection at the top of the page. And I keep that in mind with every part of the lesson that I plan. How can I keep people as attention, and how can I help people feel connected? Okay. So you can just write it down and just think through it, because these are the two things you need to toggle between as you go through that. And like even me right now, involving you in the chat is a way for me to help you feel, get your attention, and hopefully feel like you're connecting with me and even reading these out. So that's just one way to think about it. The next part, as we think about that, is in person for adults. Okay, this is adults, so take it less for children. Adults have about 18 minutes to 20 minutes where you can talk at them before you need to involve them in the content. When it comes to virtual, this is the difference, is it goes down to 4 to 6 minutes, again for adults. This is what the research is telling us, between 4 and 6 minutes of attention before they're gonna switch off. So I'd imagine for children, teenagers, middle school, whatever that might be, we have to be able to connect with them, like teach content before they involve them, or asking a question, or asking them to play around with the content. So that's just something to consider right there. Also, what we found with virtual is that it's an energy draining activity. Now, anyone want to guess in the chat here why you think that virtual drains your energy more than it does in person? I'd love to hear if you have any ideas of why you think energy is drained more in a virtual context than it is in an in-person context. Anyone have any ideas? Yep, so we got some good ideas here. Screen hurts eyes, head, yeah, especially if your glasses. Blue screen strains eyes, difficulties, human connection. Yeah, multitasking, anxiety, yeah, all great things. So the one that I've seen through a lot of my research is that the nonverbal cues are now hidden. So right now, when I'm talking to you, you can't see my hands. So usually if I'm talking with my hands, you get a bit of an idea. My face is not as illuminated as it would be in person, but really our brains are going overloading, trying to work out the nonverbal cues. And as you know, I think someone's saying here, you cannot hear the tone of voices sometimes as well. Sitting, no movement. But as you know, that 60 to 90% of communication, depends on the research, says that 60 to 90% is nonverbal. So that's, our brains are going overload by trying to work that out. So we have to overcome that as well. So the more you can help with the nonverbal cues by seeing your hands or getting your face lit up, the better it's going to be. Melody is saying nonverbal cues are vital for our deaf and hard of hearing students. Yes. That is a big issue. Yesterday's call, I had a great conversation with someone who was deaf as a teacher, and obviously I didn't have subtitles, so he could be part of the session, but that is something that is really difficult with the video part there, which I don't have any expertise in, but I do emphasize with you on that. So when we think about distraction and disconnection, what are some ways that you have found to overcome those two enemies? I'd love for you to put those in the chat. What are some ways that you've discovered to overcome distraction and disconnection? Make short transitions, shorten videos, be by myself. Yeah. Keep out pets. Lots of questions. I love that. Saying their name often. That's a really good one. Darlene, that's a really good one. A lot of research says that, just saying people's name, involving students. Movement activities, interesting. Repost information, photos online. Nice. Reminding kids the purpose. That's a really good one. Yeah, really good stuff there. Yeah, take a look at those as we keep moving on. So I love that. Lots of amazing ideas. All right, so let's look at some practicalities of video conferencing in general. Some of the technical skills that can help you with these two enemies. So audio. All the research tells us is that our brains would rather have crystal clear audio than crystal clear video. Okay, so most of the research says that people will take over a really clear video over a really crystal clear audio over a grainy video. Okay, so in order to do that, we may need to invest in the best possible way for our audio to come through. So here's a couple of ideas. Again, they're pretty elementary, but just to talk about it for a second, is a microphone. So I recommend an external microphone. So I have one here, just a simple one here. It costs $50. You can get them cheaper, but a USB microphone can be really helpful. Also, you can get a lapel microphone there in the middle. I found these between $10 and $20. You can also use your phone. You can use your phone and call in. Usually there's an option to access your phone audio at the same time. Your earbuds, so earbuds with microphones can be really helpful. You can also use your laptop, but I would say that's probably the least effective. And the reason is that your laptop and your speaker are so close together, it can create a bit of an echo noise. And that's not really what you want, because you want to centralize your voice as much as possible, again, so people can feel like they don't have to be distracted in any possible way. Then the last way is the headset, or you call it the Madonna mic or the boy band mic, whatever you want to call it. That's probably the best because the microphone is right there. And you can get some pretty cheap headsets for $10 I've seen on Amazon. But again, these are really important things. So the reason why we think about this is we want our voice to be as central as possible. Another good way to do that is just get some earbuds. And that can help with your internal laptop microphone with a pair of earbuds. You're going to increase your audio straight away just by simply having that. Again, earbuds are really the key, because if you don't, the sound will bounce around the room and it can create an echo, and it just takes away from the feeling of being connected. Anything you can do to eliminate the feeling of not being connected, go for it. So even just, if you didn't remember anything else from today, just get a pair of earbuds and put those in, okay? So any questions just about audio and how to think about that? Any quick questions about that before I move on? Sarah's saying that earbuds are really helpful. Nope, okay, I'm gonna move on. So maybe write down one idea of what you can do to increase your audio. What's one way you could do that? Is someone asked the question, is the headset okay with singing? Yeah, it can be. Obviously, if you're singing too loud, you might want to put the microphone away, but it'd be good to practice with for sure. So write down an idea of how can you increase your audio to decrease distraction and disconnection. Marilyn said, eliminate other noise in the room. Again, really important one. All right, so moving on, so video. So video is the next part of this, and I like this little meme here. Where you have Matthew McConaughey, one of the most best looking men in the world. He's there. And I like this thing from Brandon. If Matthew McConaughey looks like this in a Zoom call, imagine what we look like. Now, a lot of people get really insecure about video calls because we have to see ourselves. Like, I've been looking at myself through a Zoom call for the last 6 weeks. I'm almost getting tired of looking at myself. But we also have to broadcast ourselves. So here's a couple of little tips of how to do that the best way possible. Is with our video is to make sure that the video is well lit. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that in just 1 second about how we can light up our video. You can also buy better webcams, but the webcam that most people have in their computer or laptop or phone are going to do the job, but it's all about how you position it. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in the future part of this session. One thing to consider in almost every platform like Teams, Skype, Google Hangout, there are settings. And sometimes you can go into the settings and put on HD, which then will increase the thing. So I'd encourage you to go into your settings and check those out. All right, so again, settings, I encourage you to go in and just look around your settings and see what's helpful for you. All right, so here's a really important one. Creating your virtual studio desk. So you spend a lot of times as teachers and administrators setting up your classroom. So I'd encourage you to set up your virtual classroom. So here are a couple of ideas that I've learned along the way. So I don't know if you've seen The Office, but Dwight, does anyone remember Megadesk? Where Jim goes on paternity leave and he comes back and Dwight has taken his desk and he's got a gaming section. It's all there. So I want to help you create your Megadesk right now. Okay. So there's 3 elements to it. One is first is internet. Okay. So we need to consider our desk placement in light of where the internet is in your house. So I recommend being as close to the router as humanly possible. Okay. Like I was just on a call before this one and a lady literally moved about 10 feet and the quality of the call increased exponentially, okay? So I recommend being within at least 6 to 10 feet of your router if possible, okay? Because we're in this COVID-19 time, a lot of people are struggling with internet speed. So be close to the router and also check your speed, okay? And you can go to speedtest.net and you can look into how fast your internet is running, okay? So I have a 100 meg package at my home and it's been running at average between 10 and 20 during this COVID-19 time, which is good enough for these calls, but just something to consider as you walk through that. Has anyone else had some problems with internet as they've been through this COVID-19 time? Yeah, because that's been, a lot of people have had that. So just check on it, speedtest.net, and see if that's helpful for you, okay? So next, location of your computer. Make sure the door is closed. That can be really helpful. Someone said they adjusted an extender to help out with their internet. Make sure the door can close. Make sure you're quiet outside. Again, we want to eliminate distraction and disconnection. Even possibly put up a do not disturb sign. Now, in my house with kids that don't care, But maybe if you're in a household where you can just put it up like, hey, mom or dad or, you know, a partner is in session, it just reminds people not to interrupt you as you go about that. The next thing is your desk setup, your laptop placement. So here's a big one, another takeaway. If you only remember one thing or another thing, this will be it, is to elevate your screen so you're eye level, okay? So I did that here on my mega desk with Quick Cups, Kinetic Sand, a couple other books. And the reason why we do that is because, like in person, we want to meet people at eye level. We don't want to be up high and lording over people. We don't want to have the big selfie look where everyone's looking over us. But just a simple way in your house, you can go right now and just get that screen up to eye level, because it's going to help to communicate, again, the nonverbals that we're in this together. I'm seeing you at eye level, and you're not too far away and you're not too close. So again, it just helps people think. Marilyn said, we don't want to see up your nose. No one wants to see that. So, or no one wants to see any other part of your body parts either, like just right here. So use that as an idea. Another idea is I encourage you to use a mouse. And the reason for that is it can get a bit annoying if it's like right here, if you're using a keypad. So having the mouse just, again, eliminates distraction and disconnection. Make sure you have a comfortable seat. Don't be on a couch, because we always conform to the couch. Ideally, if you can, stand up, because when you teach, you stand up, and psychologically the energy will just increase when you do that. I'm standing up right now. It can get tiring, but for the quick session that you have, I'd encourage you to find a way to stand up. But if you need, you might have to put some more games to get up higher, but it could work. Notebook, again, the notebook is helpful because during a session, you don't want to just be like typing. It can be really loud. So again, the notebook makes it a lot quieter. Again, back to those earbuds. All right, so audio, think about that microphone. Think about putting one there in the earbuds. And then lighting, this is back to that. I encourage you to find a light. It can be a lamp in your house. Just having that lamp in front of you, and the lamp will actually help with those nonverbal cues. It will light up your face, and also you want to eliminate light from behind you, because if there's a lot of light from behind, it will then flush out your face and people can't see those nonverbal cues. If the light in your bedroom or your house is through a window, maybe just turn the desk if possible. So I'm looking this way because that's where the light's coming through. Just another way to consider. Yeah, so this is another thing to consider, but that's just the lamp next to my bedroom. So again, these are all free things that are in your house. All right, so thinking about your virtual studio desk, I'd love for you to jot down some ideas of which is a takeaway for you. What's one thing you can do to increase your virtual studio setup? So maybe in the chat too, if anyone has any ideas that they've used to help set up their virtual classroom, I'd love for you to write those in too so people could see some really great ways to connect that way. But it's been a game changer for me. I've helped a lot of people, and just simply elevating your screen can be a really good one. So a few people said eye level, improved lighting, nice. Raising computers. You can even buy desks that rise up high if you want to put some money into it. Yeah, raising the screen. Even a multiple screens, like having 2 screens can be helpful. Yeah, lots of good ideas there. Thank you. All right, so next part is when we're starting a meeting, okay? These are really important parts when we're starting a meeting. So I want to launch a thought, is that when I start a meeting, I'm thinking through this lens. I am the gracious and welcoming host. So when you have people over to your house, remember when we used to do that? We'd have people over our house for a night, not through Zoom calls or through a video chat. When you are a gracious host, what do? You get the house ready so people think that your house is clean. You also, when they come in, you give them a tour. You help them to see around. You help them know where the bathroom is. You help them know where they can put their coat. The same thing when someone enters into my virtual room from a meeting is I show them around. I show them how to use the video controls. I show them how to mute. I show them all the different tools of how to do it, because I want to make them feel safe and comfortable. So if you just tried on this mindset of a gracious and welcoming host, this could be really helpful as you start the calls with parents or with your kids, with your students. So maybe think about, try that thought on and see what comes out for you. Here's my 4 goals when I start as a Zoom call, but a video call, if you can take that too, these are the 2 things I do for participants. 1, I name that I can see you and I can hear you. because the two greatest insecurities of people coming into a call is, can people hear my voice and can they see me? So when me as the host, I am telling people, hey, I can see you. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see you, Christine. Hey, Christine, good to hear your voice. These little cues help people feel a lot more comfortable. So I encourage you, when you first get on a call, is say, hey, it's so good to see you, whatever that might be. And then the other part for me as the host is I'm asking my audience, can you see me? Can you hear me? So at the beginning of this call, I asked you that question. And the reason for that is completely selfish, is I want to make sure that I'm coming through the best way possible. And it also opens up for the participants to give me feedback, because a lot of people are never going to tell you. You're going to go through a whole call sometimes, and it might be like, most people are not going to tell you, but if you invite that feedback, people usually give it to you. So I hope that might be helpful for you as you start out your calls. Can I see you? I can see you. I can hear you. Can you see me? Can you hear me? And that can be a really helpful way to just start off that call. All right. So here's my big three. That if you mastered any video conferencing thing, is help people learn how to mute and unmute, because we all have that annoying start. The next thing is teaching people how to turn off and on their videos, and the different view video options. So all different platforms have different ways you can view, like a gallery mode or just one person or presenter mode. Learn how to do those, and then also be able to change their name so they make sure you're calling them the right name, like especially for parents. That can be difficult. So those are the three big things that I always teach people, is to make sure you just know those things, and you're going to be a better host just because of those. All right. So when we think about starting a meeting, what are some takeaways for you? What are some of the most important things that you just learned through that time? Write those in the chat for me of what you think are really helpful. Is it the 4, I can see you, I can hear you? Is it the gracious host? Is it teaching people how to use the 3 tools? What have you found most helpful, maybe just from learning that, or what you found in general when you're starting a meeting? Yeah, saying hello. Yeah. Welcome to your home. I like that. Nice. Gracious host. Good. Anything else? I love music. Yeah. Having music when people come in. I love that. All that are important. Yeah. Lovely. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. The greeter. Yeah, a lot of teachers are at the front of their door at the beginning of the day. Yeah, music is inviting. Awesome. All right, so the next one, share a screen. This is a really important part that can be utilized on Teams, on Skype, any platform that I've seen. You can share your screen. And the thing I like about sharing your screen is you get to give people something else to look for, like a whiteboard or a virtual whiteboard or a TV screen like you use in your in-person setup. So in Teams, this is just one thing. I'm more familiar with Teams, but this little button here with the arrow with the screen is a really great way to just share your screen. But there's 2 things I want you to be cautious of when you share your screen. One, do you want to share your desktop, or do you just want to share a window? And that's really important. I've seen a lot of people get in trouble and share things that they don't want to share when they just share their desktop. And that's called different things in different platforms. But if you do desktop or screen share, they can see everything. So anytime you open anything on your screen, they can see it. So your bank details or maybe personal email, be careful with that. So I recommend just going with the window. So that's the only thing that they see. But I love the opportunity to share my screen. It creates collaboration. It gives you better engagement. It avoids distraction and disconnection in the best way possible. So what are ways that you've shared your screen? What do you do when you share your screen, when you open it up? Do you share the internet? Do you share videos? Do you go through slides? Yeah, put up some ideas for people of what they go through. Yeah, worksheets. I saw a really good idea the other day where a math teacher put math problems on the screen, and then everyone had to work through them as a group. It was a high school group. I also saw a great science thoughts that they worked through a slide and had to pinpoint different parts and name things on the pictures. Can be some really great ideas. So I'd encourage you to find the way to how to share your screen, because it really is helpful. All right, so write down an idea as we finish on. What's some ideas of how you could share your screen? Maybe take something from the chat right now as we do that. All right, whiteboard. Okay, so a whiteboard, now you may not have one in your video platform, but there are lots of these third-party apps where you can actually have collaborative things where you send out a link to all your participants and you can all collaborate by using sticky notes, writing from your own home, almost like they were in a classroom. But here's a couple of ideas of how you could create a virtual whiteboard in your room. So Mural, Miro, Blackboard, Sketchboard, Jamboard, Jamboard in Google Docs, even a Word document where you could have something up and people could collaborate all together and creating a virtual whiteboard. Has anyone tried that? Using whiteboards or any success they could put with a group just to let them know of different ways you can find ways to collaborate. And again, you can put challenges up on the board and everyone could answer them, or it could be like trivia, things like that. Some of these cost money, but definitely Google Docs has a whole bunch of free ones, particularly Jamboard is a really great collaborative way. Yeah, Jamboard math lesson. That's awesome, Laura. Some different ways to do that. So I'd encourage you to think about those, or just Google virtual whiteboards can be a really helpful thing. All right, moving along. So write down an idea. Maybe think about that as a question. Like what kind of whiteboard could I create to create a better experience for my students so it feels like an in-person part of it? Also chat. Now chat, like you've seen here, is a really good way to just allow people to interact because they don't have to put their hand up. They don't have to speak up. They can all write. This can be a blessing and a curse, especially with first graders, because Miss Kelly, when she opened up the chat, one little guy just kept writing but. So that could be a challenge. But for some people, it can be a really good way just to keep the conversation rolling in a really, really positive way. And all platforms I've seen on Teams, they have chat. I've seen it on Skype. I've seen it on Google Hangouts. They all have a chat, and I think it's the lowest level of barrier of entry is to use the chat in a great way. So have a thought about what are some ways that you could use chat. Has anyone used that? Anyone use chat to help interact with their students? So Sarah's saying, I like chat because I know I don't always feel more comfortable. Yeah. So even for people, some of the more timid students, so my son Leo, he loves the chat. Yeah, new to me. Discussions on Canva. Yeah. Reinforce what we're talking about. Yeah, some really good stuff there. Yeah, so have a think about how can you incorporate chat to increase engagement and overcome distraction and disconnection. All right, so as we get through to some engagement ideas before we get to some questions, here's some ideas for you. Play music. Find a way to share the music as you walked in to this virtual meeting. I had music playing. It kind of opens up that dull sound of the virtual. Like when you walk into a classroom, have something that gets people moving, gets people shaken in the different ways. So play music. The internet is at your disposal. You have the ultimate Encyclopedia Britannica. Remember that? I remember when I was a kid, we had the Encyclopedia Britannica, but now we have the ultimate Encyclopedia Britannica. So maybe you could create scavenger hunts where you get people, hey, I want you to go solve a problem. And then everyone goes out onto the internet and does that. Now, disclaimer, obviously use that appropriately. Like with my son, Leo, I don't really want him just walking into the internet blindly. So, as a first grade parent, I wouldn't want that. But for some older students, it can create really quick engagement. Yeah, like Frank said, really good idea. It's just a quick way to do that. So you can look for videos, pictures, articles, social media posts. And then even if you have breakout rooms, which not many of the teams and that do have it, but you can create really good discussion for them to go and just discover. Here's a couple of sites that can create trivia and engagement really quickly. Minimeter and UMU. These are two free sites, and you can create interaction games. They call it gamification of your content, and it's really easy to use. And you can just send a link, and everyone can interact with it in their home. Okay, so that's a really good way to do that. Also videos, but Minimeter and UMU, really encourage you to think about those. Other ideas that I've heard, virtual field trips, guest speakers. There's a lot of people sitting around. Shauna said Minimeter is great. That's cool. Guest speakers. There's a lot of people sitting around who would love to talk to your groups. Make a video and submit it. Ask someone from the zoo or the theater to join your class. One of our favorite things was the Cincinnati Zoo did these little videos. Maybe just call them up. Who knows? They're sitting around looking for things to do. Interview a healthcare provider. Read a book challenge. Who is the most famous person you can read a book to? Maybe they can get on with a pacer or a Colts or someone. Read a story to a shut-in, like Retirement Village. It's pretty neat. You can do that. I've seen lots of people who are elderly folk who are really loving just that connection. So maybe do a reading to that as opposed to reading to a dog or to a parent. Interview an expert, news reporter, create a story like a zoo, like something like that. My daughter had to go to a virtual field trip of a zoo. Yeah, I love that. There's so many fun things we can do and be creative in this season. Another thing you can do is make a video with ease, okay? And these are great. Loom, Soapbox, and YouTube are really clever ways for you to communicate with your students and parents, and they're really easy. And I don't just say that as a 38-year-old. These are really easy. You just press one button and it records your screen and you all at one time. Anyone else in the chat that have used these tools and found it helpful? Loom, Soapbox. There's still some more ideas coming through. Some people use YouTube. I use Loom. Great. But these are really helpful things. Pam says it sounds intimidating. It is at first, but as you get used to it, Pam, it really becomes a lot easier. And feel free to reach out with me if I can help you. I like that I can make it private. So yeah, YouTube. Yeah, but I find Loom and Soapbox the easiest. They're wonderful because it records your screen and you at the same time. And then you just send a link and away you go. So there's some ideas there. Here's some connection ideas. Again, I've talked about shy students. If you have a waiting room function or have a predetermined time, maybe some of the more shy students, is get them to come 10 minutes before the session starts. Is to be like, hey, how about you come in at, like, let's say it starts at 3 o'clock. How about you come in at 2:50 so I can then connect with you and say hi. When you're asking for a reaction, call on students' names in the virtual context or saying, hey, I'm coming to student X next. Again, just using people's names are going to be really helpful. Use the chat, polls, annotate. That's just interaction. Asking students to bring a video, picture, article to the class can be some really great ways. In the chat, what else have you used to help connect? What have been some great ideas for how you've connected with your students? Share them with the group as we finish off here. Good, lots of good ideas. Puppets, that's cool. Peer deck, yeah, lots of great ideas. All right, and as we finish up before we get some questions, practice, practice, practice. I really encourage you to open up or get a friend and just practice with each other. That's the best way to do it. That's the way that I learned, is I just put it on practice. I learned through Zoom or Teams, and we would just play around with all the functions. We go, oh, what's this button? And what's this button do? You know, finding some really good ways to do that. So practice, practice, practice. Security. Make sure you're aware of your security settings, okay? Obviously, there's too many to go through, but please, please look into your security settings. I recommend just Googling. Google Team Security, Google Hangouts Security. Whatever that might be can be a really good idea. All right, so here's the last thought. What are the top 3 things that you learned from today that you're going to act on? What are 3 things that you can implement today when it comes to connecting with your students in the virtual world? Write them down, write them in the chat box, whatever they might be, but I'd love to hear what are the top 3 things for you that you can act on straight away. Better mic, 4 questions. Great. What else we got? Headphones, welcoming, adding music. Yeah, good stuff. Practice, look into resources. Nice. Music, practice, connection before content, virtual whiteboards, icebreakers. Yeah, lots of really good things. Better lighting. Awesome. Really good things happening there. Cool. All right. Well, as you keep doing those, if I can be of further help, please reach out to me. Here's my email. I'll also do a follow-up email. Again, we'll send out those PGC certificates for you. So you get that 1 point there. And as I finish, I want to say a huge thank you to you as teachers and administrators. You guys did not ask to be thrown into an e-learning world. You're my heroes. You're finding a way because you are the most resourceful humans on the planet. And I'm so thankful for you. You're going to find a way. You're going to find a way to connect. And I hope that today was helpful for you. If people are asking for my email. Again, as I finish up, just thank you to you. Please reach out if I can be of any help to your school or create resources for you. Here at Advisor, we want to help you the best we can. And even if you want to do a collaboration or a brainstorming session or help to put some e-courses together, let me know. But again, super proud of you, and I hope this was helpful. I'm going to stick around for a few moments. So feel free in the question and answer button to put through a question, and I'll try to respond the best I can. But again, it was so awesome to be with you, and we'll send out the recording tomorrow and the resources of your certificate soon. But feel free to pop any questions in there for you. Have a good day. Enjoy that sun, and we'll talk to you again soon.